Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. And thank you very much for joining us today. This is a lecture series which is part of the Shangchung UK and Kater of Shangchung Institute Austria, which is called The Life of Knowledge. And we're dedicating this series of lectures to the vast legacy that Professor Chögyal Norbu has left behind, which includes many literary works, as well as associations, organizations. And today we'll be hearing more about Khaita, which was a project which was very dear to Rinpoche in his last years of his life. And so we're very pleased today to welcome Adriana Del Borgo, who met Rinpoche in 1986, I believe, and has been traveling since 1992. She was the Vajra dance and Six Spaces and Alma Home dance instructor. She's worked with dance and movement for many decades and was, as we will hear soon, she was a central figure in the beginning of the development of Khaita. And then we'll also hear from Eva Leick, who's a dancer, professional choreographer, and also an academic. She's done her PhD about Khaita. So we're very happy today to welcome both of you and to welcome you all and to hear more about Khaita. So thank you all for joining us and welcome Adriana and welcome Eva. I have a few questions for Adriana we'll start with. So thank you, Adriana, for joining us and welcome everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamian. Good morning, afternoon, everybody. Depends where we are in a different place of the world. And I want to thank you, Jamian, for organizing this cycle of lecture, very interesting about Rinpoche, and for giving space to talk about Khaita. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you, Adriana. So first question, if you can tell us a bit about your memories about the beginning of Khaita, how it all started.
Yeah, sure. So Khaita is singing and dancing together. I want to stress the aspect of singing because today we are not singing so much, but at the beginning this was the starting. The main activity was singing and dancing a little bit, and then slowly became equal, and now is more dancing. But for me, it's important to remember that at the beginning was everything start with the singing. And this started in Tenerife, in North Tenerife. Zamlingar didn't exist yet at that time, it was 2011. And Rinpoche was staying in a house, in the apartment in the house called Mary Ling, Mary like Marigar, because his idea was to find in Tenerife a place, a warmer place for Marigar that would be Marigar South. So this was the original idea. Then things changed and become Zamlingar. But this is why it was Mary Ling, not this first center. And there is where Rinpoche started to listen in YouTube some song of young Tibetan artists. Really interesting because they were talking about Tibetan culture and how it's important to support the culture. And a quite courageous singer because they were singing from Tibet or from China. So not easy for them. Some of them also went to prison. So Rinpoche decided to support this, especially when he listened to one song, Dempa. And here we will share the link in the chat. So if you want to listen later to read the text, and there is also quite a rich Rinpoche comment about this song and why he chose this song, why this song gave the idea. But briefly, in this song there is a metaphor. There are some metaphors. So like there are some sound coming. Can I'll hold the microphone off, please? So the metaphor is like rivers in the Tibetan plateau coming from the highest mountain. They descend and they connect all the village, all the town. So does the language that connect a different group of Tibetan living in different part, maybe have different accent, but they all share the same language. And so does the melody also connect everybody, no? So through the rivers, symbolizing the language, symbolizing the harmony. So this gave the idea to Rinpoche to communicate through melody, through sound, through music. And this is how Kaita start. And we were singing. So Rinpoche in general wake up very early in the morning, like 4:35, and he start to put music at that time and working on the song. And from 4:30 in the morning, the house was full of music all day long. He was working like transcribe from the video of this artist, transcribing the words. First he did by hand, and then he started to use the computer. And I don't know if you never did a transcription. It's quite complicated. I mean, it's long process because you have to listen one part, write down, and then listen again to correct, and then stop the music and then go on. So it's quite a big job. No? So he was transcribing Tibetan, but then to give us the possibility to sing with him, he did a transliteration in Drajor for each song. And then he was also translating for us. And we record all the oral translation. So this process Rinpoche during the years of Kaita, that was 2011 until 2018, he chose 400, around 400 songs from many more hundred that he listened to, because he was really listened to many, but then some like love songs, say, no, this we don't put, is stupid, political, so he didn't want politic song talking about politics. So he really did a big selection. And all these 400 did all this work of transcription, transliteration. Then it was coming breakfast time with one, two new songs. Today I found this. He was translating for us word by word. That was also kind of Tibetan class because each of this means this means that. Also explaining some rules of Tibetan language and commenting about the history of Tibet, if the song mention about the history or other aspect of the culture, or often commenting from the point of view of the teaching. So it was very interesting to listen his commentary. And we collect also some of this in one book that is accessible to everybody in Shashun publication. So, and then from breakfast all day, we start to sing those few songs, but many, many times, of course. I count one song we sing 27 times because the melody was particular, not easy to follow. And Rinpoche want to be very precise. He want us also to be very precise in singing. And here we can share one example of this transcription of Rinpoche text. And if you see there is the Tibetan, the Drajor. Okay, now you will see. This is an example of Dempa, this first song that Rinpoche chose. And then in the other screenshot, we can see how Rinpoche also indicate all the melodies. No? Eva, can you put the other photo, the other screenshot? Anyway, Rinpoche create a system with little waves, you see here, little waves or smaller letter to indicate how to sing. Because when we sing, it's not flat, cane, joe, but there are all these mielisma. And so really was amazing. His work, you can imagine for each song to do all this is really a lot of work. And then once he present us, we were singing again and again. And that time I called was the time of the frullatore, of the blender, of shake. I don't know what is the more correct word in English to give an idea that from morning to the evening, immersed in this music and in this story of Tibet and then in the dancing really was quite strong. The mind at the end was totally empty, was like a strong Rushen all day long. And then we start to dance. The first song that has some dances, we start to copy from the video. And we were dancing in Rinpoche living rooms around the table. I remember was like a small group of us dancing in his house. And from that moment, in every place where Rinpoche was traveling, so next he went to Margarita, I remember, and then he was traveling to Tashigar South, and then all around the world. From that moment, each place, as soon as he arrived, he asked where we can sing and dance. So we have to find a place. If there was no place available, we were dancing in the apartment where Rinpoche was in that moment. Or sometimes we were dancing in hotel room, very small room, but all people who wanted to join, packed, and singing and dancing together. Not easy to dance in hotel room, but somehow we managed. And that was for some years was like this. Of course, we were singing and dancing during retreat every day, but also before and after, when every moment was a chance to share this activity. Yeah, and why I say this, I think it's very nice to remember, to remind all this moment, not with nostalgia, like, this was a beautiful time, we spent a lot of time with Rinpoche singing and dancing, not for this reason, but because if we know this, then we can understand why he did this, how he did, how much time he dedicated. So you know that after behind each song there is a lot of work from him, no? And also work of other students that collaborate. But from Rinpoche at first there is really a lot. So from since 2011 until 2018, he dedicated a lot of time in searching and doing and building all these three collection that we have in Khaita. So a lot of things. So it's important to understand how everything starts for this serial, to appreciate what he did.
Thank you, Adriana. And could you tell us what the meaning of Khaita is, of the word Khaita, and also the symbol of Khaita, like the, let's say, the icon?
Yeah, Kaita means ka means space or sky, eta means melody, melody or harmony. And so literally is melody of sky because kaita with the genitive, but we translate as the first original sentence Rinpoche chose was harmony in space, so we say harmony in space. And the logo that you can see here. So under the is the Rinpoche calligraphy, this below, in yes, is writing. And then the logo is the infinite note, but you see my text here. Okay. The infinite note that symbolize the energy that flow without interruption, without also without corner, because this representation of the infinite note you see is round, has no corner, so it's smooth somehow, no, like energy, like love or compassion that flow, and is golden, so it's shining like sun, and is inscribed in the circle. And this circle represents the Earth, our planet Earth. What does it mean? It means that, as you remember, we spoke about Dempa, how the melody, as the language and the river connect all the people. Also here, the melody connect all people on the Earth, and all the people and all the place on the Earth. And that it happened like that because in those years and still today we are dancing kaita all around the world, and we can share now a link to a video that we don't have time to see now, but I suggest you to copy the link and you can see later. Is a video that we prepared in 2014 for Rinpoche birthday. We call Happy Birthday from Around the World. We choose two dances, and everybody was dancing these two. We send the recording to the person that organized this video, edit, and at the end we all say happy birthday Rinpoche. And it's fantastic because you see also people in their own costume, like Japanese or people from Austria with a costume from German, different places. And really, there are many, many countries, all European countries, Russia, South America. I remember They send video from Peru, from Argentina, from Australia. So if you have a chance, it's really touching video. And to give an idea how our love and devotion to Rinpoche manifest and through collaboration, that is one of the main aspects of Kaita, I think. So yeah, we really suggest to have a look at this video. And also the costume, no? Because one indication very clear that Rinpoche say in Kaita, we don't use Tibetan costume. We can use something similar, but not particularly Tibetan, because all start with, yes, Tibetan lyrics and music, but then go beyond this. No? So it's a message that comes from this culture, but is connecting all the culture, all the people. So become intercultural movement or intercultural practice, and the way how we do also reflect this principle. Yeah.
Thank you, Adriana. My next question is exactly how did Rinpoche present Kite, and then how did it become a practice in the Dzogchen community?
Yeah, so at the beginning, no, every time Rinpoche was talking about Kaita, he was saying there are two reasons why I decide to do this. One is cultural reason, to support Tibetan culture, Tibetan language. But why? Not because I am Tibetan, he was saying, so not for a nationalistic reason, but because if we lose the language, the Tibetan language, we lose direct access to the ancient spiritual teaching, to the text, the sacred text. So it's important to keep it alive and also to not to lose the aspect of the deep Tibetan culture. No? That one of these aspects is spirituality. That is very important not only for Tibetan but for us, because we know in the Western world is also important. No? This the spirituality of the Tibetan people. And the other reason is to train presence and awareness through movement and dance. So for us as practitioners became a practice of presence, very simple practice of presence. And this was from the very beginning, because I think that every action of a master like our master, like Chögyal and Norbu, every action is a teaching. So Kaita was a practice from the very first moment. Only was not called Kaita. At the beginning, Rinpoche gave name Tibetan modern dances. Then he changed to harmony in space. He was looking for a sentence. So you see also his way probably of presenting and maybe of developing change with the circumstances. That was one of his sentence and advice that he was always giving us, work or deal with the circumstances. So became harmony in space. And then he was looking for a Tibetan word that could translate harmony in space. And we have a calligraphy very nice where he was writing and then deleting and changing. He was thinking ka, like space, then kalong, also space, kalong ta, and then became kaita. No, that is short, very nice, very, very effective. And that from that moment remained kaita. And for the dances, he say, okay, now this is kaita, singing and dancing, but then specifically for the dances, and he was searching for a word, and I say, oh, joyful. No? And joyful, my understanding is joy in a deep way. No? And it's true, Kaita brings joy. When we are dancing, we are really joyful. But joy for me is not something related to the circumstances that can change. Like, for example, a sunny day, I'm more happy that is if it's raining, or if I drink a little wine, I'm more happy than if I not. This is really very relative. But joy is something deeper. So for me, what this word communicate, joyful, is a deep state that we can discover. For example, when Rinpoche passed in the 2018, in Medgar, we were practicing every day and we were dancing kaita. And that day, someone asked, "But are you dancing Khaita today also?" And I said, "Yes, of course." Because it's not that we are doing some disco dancing, we're not going to discotheque, but this is our practice, no? And we were dancing with the tears because, of course, but somehow with this deep feeling of deep presence and connection with Rinpoche that was there with us, no? So joy, I want to stress this aspect that for me it's important. It's not something like a la la la, but something definitely deeper than just be happy or jumping. Yeah. And maybe I would like to say something else about the context, if I can say, when Kaita manifested. So I say that was 2011. The same year in America, we celebrate the 30th anniversary. And how we did this? Rinpoche say, no, instead of inviting people to America to celebrate, we go to the village, we go outside. So it was like a moment of opening of the community toward outside. And we did we practiced Yantra Yoga and Bhaja dance in the village around Merica, Arcidosso, Santa Fiora, Castel del Piano. And also there were three big event evening. Some of you were there, remember? One evening was dedicated to dance, so practitioners from all over the world came with their dance of their culture and the costume and perform in Arcidosso. It was really fantastic evening. And then the second day was singing. So again, the singer of the community came and sing. And the third evening was music, no? So dedicated to the music. And this was important for me, like a shift of community was more open and start to open more. And also Rinpoche was changing which practice are open, like in Vajradance, for example, at the beginning, everything was more internal. And then slowly start to open some aspect and other practice too. And also change a lot the consideration from the local people to us, that before we were really still strange. From that moment was, they do something beautiful. So was this really changed. And the other thing that happened in that time, in 2012, that already Kaita start, but Rinpoche Rosa asked to organize a
I lost Adriana.
Sangar South and North. And the only rules were that we have to create a dance from zero, from nothing, and not call some specialist, some professional people, but we practitioners should do this. And we should do a dance that can be done from elder people, children, for everybody. So it's not something super performing or what. And and everybody should collaborate, from different region of that GAR, from different place. And we have different costumes. So Rinpoche Rosa decided the color of each team. So Marigar, for example, was yellow and red, and other team had different color. And so was a competition, but main lesson for me was collaboration. The competition was a pretext for collaboration because it was a great example how we could collaborate in a joyful way through music and dancing was fantastic. And at the end, beautiful that we danced all together Kaita. So the last day of the competition, doesn't matter who win or lose. Marigar lost, by the way, that time, but doesn't matter. But we all dance in our different costumes, so you can see the team with different costume, but we all together dance Kaita. So for me, that was the lesson, no? That aspect of collaborating harmoniously, and then with all difference as we are all individual, but all together, no? There is something that we can join it. That is this aspect of collaboration, love, love to the master, and dedication, and be in our state, I would say. And at the end, also what really struck me that Rinpoche thanked us. He say, "I want to thank you, all of you who organize and participate in this, because you did something very important for the community." For me, this was we were thanking Rinpoche because for us it was a really strong experience, but was interesting this feedback from him. So that period was like as Kaita was developing, no? So you can imagine all our time was immersion, full immersion in music and dancing, and we were dancing a lot at that time, singing and dancing many hours every day. Then later, Kata session became singing one group of 10 songs and dancing some dances, like for 1 hour, 1.5 hours of dancing. But at the beginning, we were singing, and when Rinpoche was adding song, we were singing all. So became 5, 7, 10, 15, 20, and every day we were also dancing all the dances. So I remember in Zamlinga, that then became Zamlinga. At the beginning, we were dancing 30 dances every day, all the same, every day, then become 31, 32. Then one point we have to choose, of course, otherwise it was not possible. But how it evolved, it was like this. Yeah.
Thank you, Adriana. And as you mentioned in the beginning, Rinpoche started on his own, typing early in the morning, etc. And then eventually, Kaita became bigger and bigger, as you mentioned, with students all over the world and groups all over the world. What would you say was the role of students also in the development of Kaita as it proceeded and evolved?
Yeah, the student collaborate actively because because at the beginning we were, for example, with the dancing. No, at the beginning we were dancing what was in the video. Tried to also combine because the video, especially the first, wasn't they didn't show clearly a full dance. They show some moment only, and then also was our uh, job to put together this movement in the way that makes sense. No, I remember Necempo that we see only tact scatter of the dance, but then should create a dance that makes sense. Then one moment Rinpoche say, now we can start to create a dance. And so he say, create with Emalajalo. So we create this dance. And the rule was that the movement of the dance, the choreography of the mudra, the gesture, represent the lyric, the text of the song. No, this was a Rinpoche request. And so we start to create. At the beginning, Rinpoche was suggesting, this song is very nice, we could create a dance, this other song. But then later became a bit different that each of us who want to create a dance with a song that inspire us, we start to create. So it was really a big process. Now we have around 250 dances, and each dance reflect who did it. No? So because we are all different in our community, we have different cultural. We come from different culture. We have different background, different sensibility, different taste also for the songs and for the movement. So we have really a big variety of dances, very rich. I still think, wow, we did so many dances. And in each dance, before accepting or before sharing with everybody, Rinpoche wanted to check it. So he was watching, reading the text, see if it corresponds, if the movement are nice or not. So often he was changing something, suggesting movement. So it was a big collaboration also with the master. I remember many dances I did side by side with him, searching for mudra. And one example of nice how we discover some mudra. For example, one day, in one song that I was preparing, it says that speaks about the ten virtues action, and I was thinking how we can, with Rinpoche, no, how we would say, how we can, which mudra we can use here, which movement. And then someone just gave him a booklet with the sign language alphabet for deaf people. And then we say, oh, let's see here what it say. No? Then 10, okay, we look 10, and this is the movement for 10, easy. And then virtuous action, of course, there is not the virtuous action, but it's something good. No? So we look good, how we can represent. The good is this, no? Like, okay. And so the mudra in this dance became the 10 virtuous action. No? So the way of creativity really was quite rich. And for each mudra is like this, no? Each of us try to find a way, like singing and many other aspects. And why this is important? Because when we are dancing, we are not performing with our body, but when we know what the songs say and we know what the movement also say, then become more powerful. And for example, we have some dances that talk about peace, how it's important to have peace in the world. That is one of the theme of the different theme that Rinpoche choose to choose those songs talking about peace, about defending, protecting the environment, or supporting the language, etc. And so, for example, when we are dancing this song, this dance that is a tashi, no, is invoking the peace in the world, we not only perform it with our body, but also we know, and we put also our intention, and we put all this intention together, then it's much stronger. No, it's little seed, but we know that evolution starts from one, starts from us, from me or from you, from each of us, start from one. So if each of us does these steps toward evolution, then we can support maybe no evolution of the world. So this is why Rinpoche stress a lot the aspect of knowing the meaning of the song from the very beginning. I dedicate a lot of time, as I say, to translating for us word by word. And he say you don't have to sing if you don't know what the song means. You have to know. Huh? And the song that Rinpoche choose, they are beautiful. You can see in our Khaita app where there are the translation. They are really, really beautiful and inspiring. And sometimes when we sing, also these days we were singing, and I realized that in general we don't know these words. No, it's like every time I discover. Also, I forgot. Ah, wow, this song is so beautiful. And Rinpoche left us this, and it's fantastic. It's really fantastic. I am a big fan of kite, as you can see.
Thank you, Adriana. And if nowadays somebody is interested in Khaita and wants to start practicing Khaita, which are the best ways to approach for somebody wherever in the world?
Yeah, okay, find if there is a teacher near you. We are many in the world, but not all are active, so maybe it's not easy in some place also. And but there are some online program, like now in few days, next week, on Tuesday, start an online program that lasts 3 months, that is called Exploring Kaita. And we will share now a link. So if you want to copy this, you can go in our webpage, also in kaita.org, our webpage, you can find this information. And this is online, weekly classes online, when our teacher will explain the dance from the beginning, so step by step. But also in our YouTube channels, Khaita Joyful Dances, you can find there are some tutorial, also some lessons that I recorded during pandemia. So they are a bit old, but still you can learn. And also some tutorial. Also they are old. Now I would do a bit different way, but is what we have, and there is not much time to create again other material. But as a base, is good to start also. This lesson also start from zero, and the tutorial are for around 30 or 40 dances, I'm not sure. There are tutorial that explain step by step how to learn the dance. So these are the ways of to do now. Except of courses, of course, when there are courses live also, no? Participating. Yeah,
My
Eva is
last
sharing. Thank you, Eva, for sharing this.
My last question for you, Adriana. Zamlingar was sort of the big last major project of Rinpoche, of the many major projects he did in his life. And the Zamlingar song, which he wrote, and there's a dance for. Could you share a little bit about that? And also, would you consider this as part of Khaita, the specific song?
Mhm. So yes and no. It's part of Kaita because it was manifesting this moment and because he's dealing with dancing, with sound, singing. So it's part of Kaita in this sense. But it's different because it's a complete teaching. Because Rinpoche wrote the text and he created the music and also part of the dances. And the dance that he suggests us to do represent the movement, that represent the meaning of the song. And it's complete teaching. Rinpoche say I could write 3 volumes on this because it's very deep teaching, and I suggest you there is a booklet which in the Shanshun publication with the transcription of Rinpoche teaching in Kaitan. And one example of this is stressing about collaboration. That, as I say, is one of the main aspects of Kaita, collaboration, and that in the relative sense is doing something together. And second part of Zamlingar song say, come to Zamlingar, we unify our strength and capacity. We do things together. But in the inner sense, collaboration is integration. That is is the main point for us as practitioner. So yeah, so as a message for Kite, I would say this is like collaboration and that is integration. And I would like to say something else. In Rinpoche, Rinpoche has a broad vision always. Often we don't understand, but really had a broad vision. And a few times he say in 2015, in the Dzogchen community, we have 3 methods connect with movement. That is Yantra Yoga, Vajra dance, and the joyful dances. And all this is Kaita. No? So Kaita is harmony in space. So I'm always reflecting on this sentence, try to understand. Of course, these 3 methods are different. They are very different for some aspect, but they all work with movement, of course, and they all work with rhythm and with sound, external sound in case of the Vajra dance and Kaita, but more internal in the sense of with the breathing for Yantra Yoga. But I'm always, this is really always, I'm reflecting on this sentence of Rinpoche, all is Kaita, no? Try to understand what is so. And I think we are very far from this, but I don't want to forget this sentence because I think it's very important. For me personally, it give a direction in my practice. And when I'm teaching, I'm trying to convey a little bit this. No? Also, the idea that we are not separate. We cannot say one practice is better than the other. No, we are all is perfect. Each practice, each method is perfect. Then we need this or that according to the moment. But we try to have a broader view. What is for me, Kaita is this. No, is a bridge from formal practice to application of practice in our daily life. Because the rhythm, the sound, the music, the rhythm of the song, they are very different. Songs are some are slow, some are faster, some are extremely fast. And in one same song, the rhythm change also. And this is the perfect training to be present and deal with circumstances that in our life change continuously. And Rinpoche say, when we work with time, with the rhythm, we understand how to deal with circumstances. So for me, this is why Kaita is the bridge for understanding how to apply presence in our daily life.
Thank you so much, Adriana. And also, thank you for all your years of hard work. I remember in the beginning, it wasn't easy. Rinpoche was very serious about Khaita, and I know you
Yes.
spent, I don't know, maybe 16 hours a day, some days also working with Khaita and writing.
Yeah.
Really, you were one of the pillars for the whole Khaita emergence. So Thank you for all your hard work all those years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then now I'd like to invite Eva for the second part of our talk. Eva did her PhD about Khaita, as I mentioned before. She did it academically. She did a very nice publication, which came out of Shangshung Publications. It was sponsored by Qatar. And she's really delved very. Now, Eva, if I may ask you a little bit, how you first came into contact with Khaita, because you have quite a different story from Adriana, so we'd be curious to hear.
Okay, yes, thank you, Jamyang, and hello to everyone. And thank you also to Adriana for sharing all her memories. So, yes, like you mentioned, I have a very different experience to Adriana meeting Khaita. And for this, I have to go to the beginning, back up a little bit. So, I was born into the Dzogchen community. So, both my parents are practitioners. And I just always remember going to retreats in Meriga, and so Rinpoche was normal, so to say, to me. And then in 2012, we were in retreat in Meriga, and I was a little bit aware that this Khaita dance, I mean, it was not Khaita back then, Tibetan modern dances were starting to be a thing. And I remember there was this announcement, a very small sheet of paper, come study Tibetan modern dances in Merigadue with Tsering and Chögyal. And I went because there was not so much else to do in that moment in the afternoon. And I always enjoyed dancing. So I've been dancing since I was a child. And so I was always interested in movement. And so I said, okay, that's great. And then we were a very small group of people, and I did the dances, and it was okay, but not so much more. And then during the years, I started remotely to be aware of what was happening with the Khaita movement. So, for example, in Prague, a few years after that, there were many people already dancing. It was a huge group of huge circles, and many people who were there on site. And again, I found it interesting, but I was not hooked, let's say. And then because I had to do other things, I finished university, I finished my first degree, and I went abroad, and so on and so on. And then I went to Zamlinga for the first time. And when I went to Zamlinga, I started to go to the practice, and I was really fascinated. All of a sudden, it made like click, and I understood, oh wow, this is really something that I need to develop, and I need to go further into this. And in fact, I do remember, because I've always been a very ambitious dancer, so in fact, I remember asking Elia, who was always there guiding and leading the music, and I remember asking him, Elia, do you think it's possible for me to study all the dances while I'm here in these 2 months? And he laughed at me and he said, well, try, but I don't think it's going to happen. And so, of course not. And then I started seriously studying. And the more I studied, the more I understood that I need to study more. And it became more and more to discover. And then eventually, Adriana opened this possibility to join the Khaita educational program. For eventually becoming an instructor, but really to just study more, to learn more. And I joined this, and since then I'm really dedicated, and to this day I'm still studying. So every day, now I'm also in Zamlinga, when we go to practice, like every day I'm thinking, what else is there to learn from the dances that I've done so many times, and connecting it with the meaning and with the singing. And so this whole Khaita universe opened to me, and it's very rich. Let's put it like this.
Thanks, Eva. And how did you decide to study academically? What was the sort of push or the angle that you decided to go into it academically?
Exactly. So I think it was a little bit exactly of this mixture of what I just said, like trying to, for me personally, trying to understand as much as possible. And I'm a very, let's say, theoretical person in some ways. I'm a very academic person, so I have some skills in that area. And really, I wanted to connect it. I wanted to connect my love for dancing, my love for studying and for going deep into a topic, and my devotion for Rinpoche. And so originally, I had wanted to do a completely different PhD, and for many reasons, it didn't work out, and I was very sad at that moment. But then I understood, oh, maybe I have to do something else. And so then this idea came up to maybe propose a project in a dance studies program with Khaita. And I did. But it was not easy because most supervisors at university, so you always have to find someone who will take care of your dissertation, who supports you in all this process, etc. And you need a university eventually to offer you a position. So it was really not easy because most people that I reached out to, they said, oh, I don't know, what is this exactly? Is this in the field of Tibetology, or is this like more in the dance? For the dance, maybe it's missing a little bit this aspect of performance. It is there, but it's not the main part of Khaita. So it's really more this practice part. So it was not easy to find someone who was really supporting this idea. And then I found the University of Salzburg in Austria, in my home country, which I actually hadn't considered at first. And they said, okay, you can start. And I said, okay, why start? And it was exactly during COVID time also. So it allowed me in that sense to have the freedom to also be traveling. So I was in Zamlinga a lot, and where there is practice every day. And I also went to Meriga, and we also had this Khaita educational program at the same time. So it really allowed me to go to different places and connect to different dancers in Europe mostly, and to study personally, but also kind of like bringing all of this into an academic language that is acceptable for universities, let's say. Yeah.
Were there any challenges, let's say, to your study of Khaita? Well, as you mentioned, it was hard to place it exactly. Is it Tibetan studies? Maybe more traditional Tibetan studies is more, Buddhist studies is more text-based and more intellectual. Also, I think one of the big things of Khaita is the whole movement aspect, of course. So were there some challenges for you in the academic world? Was it hard to be, let's say, accepted by the Tibetologist crowd, maybe?
Well, yes, it was. This remains a challenge until this day because I don't consider myself a Tibetologist. So I'm dealing with something that, as Adriana explained very, very well, it's connected to Tibetan culture, of course, because the songs come from there, and also some of the movement is based on it, inspired by it. But then it's really going beyond a little bit. So, for example, let me start first with something that worked, and then I go back to the challenges. So, 2 years ago, one of the milestones I would say in this academic path so far has been the conference at Oxford University, at this conference for young Tibetologists, where thanks to you, I also got the opportunity to present Khaita and explain a little bit about my research. So this, I think, was really something nice because it arrived in this world of Tibetology, which I think is something that Rinpoche definitely would have supported and would have wanted because he was working as a Tibetologist himself at university. But then again, because Khaita is so many things, I think it's also because it's just so many things and there's no limitation. So also it works in disciplines of ethnomusicology, for example. It works in dance studies. It works in contexts of spirituality. So this is a challenge academically because you have to be very fluid and very flexible somehow, but also it's a benefit because you're not limited in any way, just like Khaita. It can be many things and many perspectives. So it's very rich in that aspect. But for sure, one of the challenges to this day is to translate something that is based on experience into mostly words, because the academic world is built on written words and also spoken words. So, how do you translate an experience, a movement experience, into words? So, for example, I sometimes have to think of this sentence by this choreographer and dancer Isadora Duncan. She said, "If I could tell you what it meant, there would be no need in dancing it." And so, very often I'm reminded in this that dance is a complete language in itself, and it is non-verbal. And this aspect of collaboration that Adriana also emphasized, I think partly works because we don't have to speak. So we are speaking with our bodies, but we are not restricted by language in that sense. Even if we are very international groups of dancers, usually, we all speak the language of dance that is beyond words. And so, of course, the challenge for me was and is to translate something into words that then can be read without having that experience. And I tried to find as precise terms as possible, and also kind of like transcribing the movement in words. But of course, it's not the same. So it always remained something on the paper in the end.
Thank you, Eva. In fact, the conference that you mentioned 2 years ago at Oxford University, I remember you did both. You explained, you gave a talk, and then, of course, there were several Khaita dancers, I believe 6 of you, if I remember correctly, who made a wonderful performance. So even if you say you're not a Tibetologist, I think you did a very good job there at the Tibetan Studies Conference.
Thank you.
So now to round up, I want to ask some questions. It can be both to Adriana and you, Eva. And the first one is, why would you say that Khaita is a Dzogchen practice for you personally?
Okay. So I think one of the things is that it makes life easier in that sense. So it is something that has many different forms, but actually also no form at all. So it's something that you take with you in your daily life. So, for example, for me, one of the things very, very personal that I learned to understand from working with a lot of different bodies in a space is to find this aspect of harmony. So of course, if you have music and if you have a kind of choreographer, people try to follow it. So then a kind of sense of harmony establishes. But you can also take this to more or less daily life experiences. So, for example, at the airport or at the train station, where there's a lot of people, I really noticed that I managed to relax more because I can somehow tune a little bit into the rhythm of people, and kind of like understanding that, like, a song is always changing, so that the rhythm is always changing, but maybe there are some patterns. So you can just understand and maybe relax with this a little bit. So, and then this aspect of collectivity in general, collaboration, working in groups, which is also key to the Dzogchen teachings of Rinpoche. I think this is very concrete in Khaita. There's no way around working together if you want to do a circle, or if you have to do a circle, or if you have to do certain couple choreographies. You have to work together. There's no way around it.
Yeah, I would like to add one thing. I share all what Eva say, and about the circle, for example. No, if we have a circle, and we need all to be responsible. If even one person is not is not aware, then it's not a circle anymore. So really, also we are all equal. So this aspect of collaboration, of be equal and respecting each other's space, this is very important. We learn through Kaita. But also another aspect, because it's a method so unconventional that Rinpoche created, then we face our own limitation. Is fantastic to this. I remember At the beginning, when practitioners, especially old practitioners, always say, but why Rinpoche is doing this instead of working on his dream of some of his text? Why is dedicating so much time in this unnecessary song, for example? Or another say, musician, he told me, but this music, for me at the beginning was really, I'm a musician, so this music somehow I didn't like. Then I realized that was a judgment. I like, I don't like. So Kaita, I think, as the method manifest in this unconventional way, make us give us the possibility to discover our own limitation and to overcome this. Also, maybe we are afraid to show ourselves dancing because when we dance, we are naked. And but doesn't matter in Kaita we are good or not. No, only if we have to do a performance, we try to check the movement. But otherwise, this is not really the point. Absolutely, is not the point. So it doesn't matter. But we in general we are afraid to show ourselves how I dance. I'm not good. So it's a mirror. It's really a perfect mirror.
Thank you both. And my final question, what advice would you give to people who are interested in Kaita and perhaps they don't have much experience with dance at all? As you say, you're naked when you dance. Maybe you feel you don't know how to dance. It's difficult, etc. What's your advice for people who are curious?
I would say try and experience it, because there's no sometimes, for example, now kite has been around for some time, and of course we have more advanced dancers. We have some who have been dedicating many years to this and who manage to do really nice movements, who remember a lot of dances, who instantly can start dancing, etc. But of course, we always have to remember that we all had to start from somewhere. So try and enter in that experience. Of course, try to follow someone who knows a little bit more. And I think it's also easier now to study than it was years ago. But Adriana, maybe you can say more about this, because I think now many people already understood a little bit more about the movements, and so it's easier to follow also.
Yes, also the way how we did at the beginning with Rinpoche was different because during retreat, for example, or any other situation, people join, there was not explanation at all, just enter in the flow and follow. No? Now we have courses, so we are establishing a kind of language to explain some aspect. So it's also a bit different. But yes, I agree. The main point is try. Now do experience how it resonates in you and just try. This is the best way to jump in without thinking too much, without thinking too much right, left, or what, but just go, no, and experience it. I don't know if we share already, but I think it would be nice to share about Zamlingar's song, a dance. We have a video that we released last year or 2 years ago. It's the son of Samantha Badra, where you can see some clips also of Rinpoche singing, showing the dance with his finger. It's a very nice video and also very touching, where he say that Zamlingar's song and is his statement for the future. He say one point, he say, if you don't know what to do, how the community go on, what we need to do, study Zamlingar's song. And then at the end, they say, if I even will not be there here, you can do this. It's our responsibility. So I suggest to look this. And then in our YouTube channel, there are also different videos about Kaita. One we release on the 10th anniversary. And also some other. Also, always there are some clips with Rinpoche, so they are very nice to watch, I think.
Thank you very much. And before we open up the floor to questions from the various people, the public listening, is there anything else that you'd like to add, either of you?
No, I don't think.
No? Eva, any last minute comments, reflections?
No, thank you. All good.
Okay, then I see there are quite a few Khaita instructors and Khaita practitioners. Maybe you have some particular question or comment to share. Also, I want to say that this year in August, we're planning, again, there's another big conference of Tibetan scholars happening in Nepal. This is an international conference that happens every 4 years. And this edition will be in Kathmandu, so there'll be more than 600 academics, professors, researchers, quite big, famous names. And we're organizing now to have a Kaita show there, so that's something nice to keep in mind for all of you. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat or just unmute yourselves. I think you have the power to unmute yourselves here. There should be no restrictions. So if we have any questions, please ask. Or otherwise, I thank you both, but let's give it a minute just to see if there's anyone with questions.
Question here also? No?
How does Geshe approach Khaita? Is he just a dissident and
Okay, here there is a question how Namkhai Yeshe approach Kaita. Namkhai Yeshe is not a dancer, but he support Rinpoche at the beginning. Tried to invite also some singer. He did collaborate with Rinpoche at the beginning on some aspect. And now I know he has a project with one of our singers, Lobsandele, to sing some part of the teaching of the bardo with some music that another person is creating. So he has some. He want to give a contribute in this sense.
He also mentioned in the retreat just now in Tenerife, he said that we're a community of where song and dance is very central. Just now recently, of course, sound is a big aspect for him, no? So,
Yeah,
okay, if we have,
was
yeah,
very funny. Sorry, one day we present was in a place near Zamlingar. We present ourselves as community. We did dances, etc., Kaita, Vaja dance, different things. And then these people, they couldn't say Zamlingar, but they call us Dancingar. It was very nice because actually we are a Dancingar. It was very cute.
Okay, well, if we have no more questions, then on behalf of everybody, I think we can thank you both for your hard work and continuous hard work. As you mentioned, there's this new in-depth course starting in a few days. And this talk will be put on the YouTube channel along with the other talks of this lecture series honoring Rinpoche's work. So it'll be out soon, the recording. Some of you came in late, so you can watch the recording online. Hopefully in the next few days it'll be up. And thank you, Adriana. Thank you, Eva.
Thank you, Jami, and thank you, Eva. Also, thank you everybody for listening. Grazie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Here we have a club, we have a group.